You ready to roll? All right, it is 6:30. We will call the November council meeting to order at this time. Welcome to those in attendance, those watching at home, and to the common council. At this time, we'll have the clerk call the roll.
Bolt.
Here.
Vanderkid. Katarabik.
Here.
Fry.
Here.
Reckelberg.
Here.
Sikowitz.
Here.
Beeman.
Here.
Schley.
Here.
Cummings.
Here.
Sakala.
Here.
All present.
All are present. Thank you. At this time, will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and if you could remain standing for a prayer by our council president, Steve Sakala. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord, before we go into this meeting, we still ourselves before you, for you are filled with beauty and light and care deeply about us. Help us to listen before speaking. Help us to fully understand these people before making our case. Help us to value and appreciate the ones we are about to meet before thinking of our own concerns and anxieties. May your light enfold us. We ask this in the name of Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Council President Sakala. We have one presentation this evening, and that is for the city clerk to administer the oath of office and badge pinning for Police Lieutenant Kim Albright. Lieutenant Albright, if you and family would like to come on up, also any other officers, if you'd like to come on up and support Kim at this time.
Yes, you got it. All right. If you please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Kim Albright,
I, Kim Albright,
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution
of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
of the United States and the Constitution of Wisconsin,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of Police Lieutenant for the City of Manitowoc
of Police Lieutenant for the City of Manitowoc
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Can I get your signature just on this top line here, please?
All right, congratulations, Lieutenant Albright. All right, we have, let's see here, two public hearings this evening. The first one is public hearing for the purpose of hearing any citizen or taxpayer on the proposed budget for the upcoming year. That is the first public hearing. So is there anyone here wishing to speak on the purpose of proposed budget for the upcoming year? Anyone interested in speaking on the budget, going once, twice? Any previous? All right, we will close that public hearing. We'll move, all right, have the clerk read the proof of publication.
Notice of this public hearing was published in the Herald Times on November 6th. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we will go to the public hearing for the purpose of hearing any and all interested parties in the matter of the proposed change to Chapter 15, regulating floodplain zoning ordinance. Adam Tagan, and we will have the clerk read the proof of publication.
Notice of this public hearing was published in the Herald Times on November 7th and November 14th.
Thank you. Adam?
All right. If you were not aware, the federal government recently updated floodplain mapping for the entire city. As a result, the WDNR has been also updating their ordinances for floodplain regulations, and they came out with a new model ordinance and basically gave direction to all municipalities that we need to update our floodplain ordinance. So that is the impetus behind this change. Ultimately, for the most part, a lot of the changes are just changing things around, making it easier to use, easier to understand. However, there are a couple of changes that were outlined in the report. Basically, we are adding a coastal floodplain district, which, because we are on Lake Michigan, there is potential for flooding off of the lake, but added language pertaining to that. Also, clarified some language on removing land from the floodplain district, basically the process that it takes to do that. Then we also incorporated language that allows a non-conforming structure, if it is destroyed in a flood or damaged in a flood, that you can rebuild. However, it has to meet certain regulations that are very restrictive, so it's still not necessarily easy to rebuild in a floodplain after damage, but it is possible. And then finally, just clarified some language on what those requirements are if you do rebuild for mechanicals and what elevations that all has to be at. So that is the reason behind this. This did go through the Planning Commission. They were unanimous in support, as is staff.
Thank you, Adam. Any questions from the council at this time for Adam? All right, if not, this is a public hearing, so anyone from the public is interested in speaking on this specific subject matter, you may do so at this time. Anyone interested in speaking? Once, twice? Close public input for that. We will go now to the regular public input. If there's anyone interested in speaking on anything germane to the business of the city of Manitowoc, you may do so at this time. Is there anyone interested in speaking on anything germane to the business of the city of Manitowoc? Going once, twice? Did we have any previous? No. All right, we will close public input. We will move to appointments. I have one appointment, and that is for Lynn Calista to the Committee on Aging. I'd look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. We'll move to the consent agenda. Is there anything to be removed from the consent agenda? If not, I'd look for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. All right, we'll move to committee reports, and we will start with Committee of the Whole and Alderman Steve Sakala.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The clerk has our documents.
We have document 975, which is a report of the Special Events Committee recommending approval for events requiring council action. Committee returns same, recommending approval.
Council, your pleasure on this report.
Move to approve the report, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second, discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Anything else, Alderman Sakala?
No, Mr. Mayor, that concludes our business.
Thank you. We'll move then to the Finance Committee, and Alderman Jim Bry is chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The clerk has the documents.
We have document 899, which is the general city budget on proposed 2023 in the amount of $18,861,186 with $928,610 in proposed tax incremental financing. Committee returned same, recommending to approve the 2023 budget as presented.
Council, your pleasure on this report.
Move for the adoption of the committee's report, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second, discussion. Alderman Bry.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor, and just to everybody involved with this process, thank you. Everybody did a wonderful job. It's going to be an interesting year. We're looking right now, just give you some quick highlights as the mayor presented the budget, but rear are mostly unchanged. Looking at a 2.2% tax increase for the general public, a 5% raise to most employees, so that's a good to retain people. The biggest thing is that it had a discussion, I'm sure it'll be discussed here tonight too though, but after the budget was presented from the mayor to the finance committee, the final assessed property value numbers came in, and unfortunately our values went slightly down. So to keep the rate at 2.2 tax increase to percentage wise, the mayor recommended and the finance committee approved using another $600,000 of unassigned funds. So with that, I will turn it over and I hope for adoption. I'm open for questions as well, and if there need be discussion purposes. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Bry. Any further discussion? Alderman Sitkowitz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I want to thank Alder Bry as finance chair. Kim Lynch, who in the finance department has been as she retires at the end of the year, has been to go out and with your last budget, I think, Mary, you and her worked endless hours on trying to, work within the constrictions of what there was this year, and there were quite a few. But there, looking over history, there's a couple budgets that are pretty transformational for the city of Manitowoc. If you go back to 2009 and 10, when the bank account was at $16,000, to be able to grow the reserve fund to today, of where we're able to use some of those funds to weather a storm, is something that we would have been in dire straits if this budget had been presented 10 years ago. So to be able to look at history and build up that reserve for a day like today is important and should be noted. But why I say it's transformable is when we take a look at the compensation for employees, to be able to adjust to the market or near market or trying to get to market quickly in these times isn't easy for a governmental body to do with a lot of the restraints that we have. So again, that goes to the due diligence in previous years of being able to build up those reserves that we set are for a rainy day or for an emergency. And with the current state of the finances throughout the world, this falls under that category. So to be able to keep the ship running smooth for this coming year and for a couple of years in the future until things correct themselves, we should be thankful that we have those reserves to be able to do that. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Sitkowitz. Alderman Sakala.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's a few people I'd like to thank. I'd like to thank, first off, you, Mr. Mayor, for this budget. I know firsthand how much you struggled with this and just trying to keep things whole, and I sincerely appreciate that. Alder Bry committee did another fantastic job with the budget. Kim, working in finance, she did a fantastic job, and most of all to the department heads for keeping their budgets intact when they sent them forward. A budget like this, I mean, there's really nothing that's going to wow you on this budget, but a budget like this is very difficult. I mean, because we don't have a lot to work with right now. Fuel prices have gone through the roof. We have runaway inflation. It's not like, when we were flush with cash in the late teens. This really is, though there's not much in it for the citizen to really look at, was very difficult budget. So for that and everybody involved, a sincere thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Sakala. Any other discussion on the 2023 budget? Alderman Reckelberg.
Well, I certainly can appreciate the difficulty of this budget. To give the employees the 5% and come in at that 2.2% is really something. Granted, we're using a lot of the reserves. I guess I would just forewarn my fellow alders that there are things in the budget that could be cut and still get the expenditure restraint payment from the state. If I had my druthers, I'd like to not cut them, but cut them this year and put them in next year. You had mentioned there's not much in the budget, for the citizens to be thrilled about, but there are a few items. But I know I'm not going to get anywhere with it. But there are a few things that could be done. And I would have only recommended, I think I recommended it at the Finance Committee, and that was more so that to even things out. It's sort of like I'm giving you a candy bar next year, but I got a candy bar for you the year after. Right now, you're getting 2 candy bars for next year, and right now, if we can pull off a half a candy bar the next year based on the numbers that I've been seeing, we'll be lucky. So I just want you to be aware of next year should be good. It's heaven help us the next year, but I will vote for the budget. As I explained to the mayor, I said I'm a bottom line kind of guy. He definitely delivered a good bottom line. How we had to get there is not so good, but what are you going to do? So thank you very much.
Thank you, Alderman Reckelberg.
I just want to say, Kim was very, very helpful. I mean, I bet you I called a dozen times. She always gave me the answer or sent me something, email or whatever. And I tried to limit myself because I know what kind of work is involved with this. And what her staff has to work with. So thank you, thank Kim, and I wish her good luck in her retirement. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for recognizing her for that. Absolutely. Alderman Bry.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. I guess Alderman Reckelberg, it depends what kind of candy bar it's going to be, and then I would support that. But you made a good analogy, and, you know, I was thinking about this too. I don't want to call it this, but I'm going to. It's an oatmeal budget. It's basic, but it works. It maintains police and fire protection. It keeps the Raw West Museum open. It's going to be working on roads. The bottom line is 2.2%, and I agree, Alderman Reckler, that's great. It's going to be it's low like that. But even other entities in this county have decided that they had to have a tax increase this time. But I'm looking forward, you know, as what happens. The mayor has always been forthcoming, the department heads, anybody, if there's problems, they'll come to the finance committee, they'll come to the common council and say, hey, this is going on. We have possible recommendations, and ultimately we can make a decision. If we need to cut something or look at something like that over the year as we move along, so be it. We'll go from there, but I'm looking forward to it. I guess I have faith in everybody involved with this budget that it'll be fine, so. I hope everybody supports it. Thank you again.
Thank you, Alderman Bry. Any further discussion? I would just like to thank the Finance Committee as well, the council, department heads, staff, especially Kim. I think I mentioned several times, this is my 14th budget I presented. Definitely not one of my favorite, definitely not one of the worst, but definitely not one of my favorite that I presented. And as you mentioned there, Alderman Bry, you know, what will come from this is really tightening our belt next year to make sure that what we told you as myself and staff comes true, so we don't have to be in a predicament next year where we look at cuts. Stated many times that this isn't, you know, the citizen isn't going to get the fluffy, you know, brand new shiny bike this Christmas when they get their property tax bill. But they will get maintained services, and they'll get hopefully improved services by maintaining our wonderful staff all across city departments, and hopefully being able to recruit new people, good people moving forward, because at the end of the day, the city employees are the ones who provide the services that the citizens expect. So to be able to do that, and as I think I mentioned to everyone, that was my number one priority moving into this budget, was to ensure we didn't have to cut anywhere and that we took care of our employees. So I appreciate the support that we were able to get that accomplished in this budget. But next year, it'll be on myself, on department heads, and on the council to ensure that we're not in this same predicament next year, that we don't have to go to the reserve fund, even though we built it up for this very purpose. And next year, we can move forward as we have in the past. So thanks to everyone. And any other discussion, comments? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Motion carries unanimously. The budget is approved. Thank you all. Next, yep.
Document 969 is a resolution to hold a primary election on February 21st, 2023, if there are 3 or more candidates who file nomination papers for a city office at the April 4th, 2023 spring election. Committee returns same, recommending to adopt the resolution.
What's your pleasure on this resolution?
Move to adopt the resolution, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
Document 973 is an offer to purchase from Tycor for property located in the River Point District. Committee returns same, recommending approval.
What's your pleasure on this report?
Move for the adoption of the committee's report, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Anything else, Alderman Bry?
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor, but our next Finance Committee meeting will be Tuesday, December 6th here at 5:30 PM in the Common Council chambers. Thank you again, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And we'll move then to the Personnel Committee. Alderman Eric Sitkowitz is chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The clerk has the documents.
Document 970 is a resolution for one-time bonus pay for City Attorney Department employee Jane Rhodey. Committee returns same, recommending adopting the resolution.
What's your pleasure on this resolution?
Move for the adoption of the committee's report, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second to discussion. Alderman Sitkowitz, we'll start with you.
Yep, just want to recognize Jane for the extra work that she did while we were in search for attorneys to fill the positions up in the attorney's office. Jane's been a long-term employee who is retiring as well, coming up, so it was recommended that we show our appreciation by, because she couldn't move into the attorney's role and qualify for the step-up pay like this, and we've done this before when they take on additional duties outside of that, so just wanted to recognize Jane for her efforts.
Thank you. Alderman Schley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to echo everything Alder Sitkowitz just said, and thank Jane for all the help that she's been during this very tough interim period and helping us carry on as a council. And I want to congratulate my friend Jane Rhodey on her retirement announcement. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Alderman Sakala.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We asked an awful lot out of Jane. We really did. Holy crap, a lot of amount we've asked out of Jane. So this $3,000 bonus that we're going to give to her, I honestly don't feel it's enough for everything that she had to do. And then talking with our attorney tonight, with how much help that she's been with him onboarding and discussing other legal matters, we more than got our money's worth with her. So a sincere thank you to Jane, and I look forward to a unanimous vote on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Sakala. Well said. Any further discussion? Seeing none, then all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you all.
Document 971 is a resolution adjusting the harbor master stipend. Committee returns same, recommending adopting the resolution.
Council, your pleasure on this resolution.
Move for the adoption of the committee's report, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Seeing, Alderman Sitkowitz.
Just the update, there was the resolutions there, but there was a little bit of discussion at Harbor Commission as well as at the Personnel Committee. When we took a look at the amount of off-work hours that this individual puts in, the $100 a month was by no mere sufficient. So by moving it to every other pay period, still I think it's a little low for the amount of work that the individual does off on their time, but it's a step in the right direction. So I just wanted to make sure that we take a look at some of these throughout this city that we do, that make sure we adjust them appropriately.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, then all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
Document 972 is a resolution to approve offering a $2,000 sign-on bonus to newly hired part-time transit drivers for 2023. Committee returns same, recommending to adopt the resolution.
Council, your pleasure on this resolution.
Move for the adoption of the committee's report, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Alderman Sitkowitz.
Yep, just real quick on this one, finding part-time bus drivers is extremely challenging. So much so that a couple years ago, we put in a $500 sign-on bonus. Then we went to a $1,000 sign-on bonus, and now we're at a $2,000 sign-on bonus. So just a little plea, if anybody out there wants to drive the bus, knows anybody that wants to drive the bus, or has driven a bus and wants to get back into driving a bus, we welcome them to apply. So it's very hard it does require a CDL, and it's a little bit limited at part-time. So hopefully this gets a couple more people behind the wheel.
Thank you, Alderman Sitkowitz. Planes, trains, and automobiles too?
I got a vision of Kramer driving the bus.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, then all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Anything else, Alderman Sitkowitz?
That completes our business this evening. Our next scheduled Personnel Committee meeting is for December 5th, right here in Council Chambers.
Thank you. We'll move then to the Public Infrastructure Committee, and Alderman Mike Cummings is chair.
Clerk has our documents.
We have document 874, municipal water installment agreements with various property owners. Committee returns same, recommending to enter into the agreements.
Council, your pleasure on this report.
Recommend to adopt the committee's report, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
Document 915 is a downtown snow removal assessment resolution. Committee returns same, recommending to adopt the resolution.
Council, your pleasure on this resolution.
Recommend to adopt the committee's report, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
Document 921 is the 2023 DPI fee schedule and resolution. Committee returns same, recommending to adopt.
Council, your pleasure on this resolution.
Recommend adopting the committee's report, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
Document 924 is an ordinance amending Section 10.410, parking regulated in inclement weather ordinance revisions. Committee returns same, recommending adopting.
Council pleasure on this ordinance.
Recommend adopting the committee's report, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
Document 989 is a request from Schaus Roofing and Mechanical, request to build new warehouse building over city's 24-inch sanitary sewer. Committee returns same, recommending to grant the request.
Council pleasure on this ordinance.
Recommending adopting committee's report, Mr. Mayor.
Request.
Second.
Motion second. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Yeah, sorry, that's why I said ordinance. Did we have
Oh,
one stuck in there?
sorry.
Yep,
There is. All right, and then
there we go.
document 981 is an ordinance to revise section 3.070, establishing the members of the Board of Public Works. Committee returns same, recommending to adopt the ordinance.
Council pleasure on this ordinance.
Recommending adopting committee's report, Mr. Mayor.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Oh, anything else? Alderman Cummings.
Nope, that concludes our business today, Mr. Mayor. Our next meeting is going to be on December 7th in the council chambers at 5:30.
Thank you. We move then to the Public Safety Committee, and Alderman Bill Schley is chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The clerk has the documents.
Document 976 is an ordinance to reduce the speed limit on North 18th Street from Menasha Avenue to Magnolia Avenue. Committee returns same, recommending to adopt the ordinance.
Council pleasure on this ordinance.
Requests that the council approve the ordinance.
Is there a second? Motion and a second. Discussion.
I'll start it off here. This originated from a request from a constituent who approached me about the speed limit on 18th Street as it approaches the Jackson School District, school zone, excuse me. And there was a concern that people were traveling at high speeds. I went and took a look at it for myself, and I realized that although the speed limit was 35 miles per hour, prior to that, it was a quick 55 to 45 to 35, and that a lot of folks were just kind of ignoring all those in-between numbers and staying right there at 45 to 55, almost all the way to the intersection. And so what we're proposing is that we simply, from Magnolia to the Jackson School stop sign at 18th, change the speed limit to 25 miles per hour.
Thank you. Alderman Sakala.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I took a look at this, and honestly, it makes no sense to me. So we're going from 55, 45, 35, so you go 55, 45, 25. You're really creating an enforcement issue. You really are. And as far as driving past Jackson School, traffic's forced to stop. Then they roll out of the stop and maintain 25 or 15, depending if the kids are out of school or not. You take a look at 8th Street, 8th Street, it doesn't match what 8th Street is doing over there. You look at the houses on the street, I can think of maybe one house that faces the road. Other than that, they don't. So to appease, one person for something that, affects thousands of people, and now the police department who's going to have to enforce this, we're creating a problem. So I highly encourage the members of this body to vote against this. So thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Sakala. Further discussion, Alderman Bolt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In looking at this when this all started, yes, I was questioning it, but we do the same thing on Waldo Boulevard. We have a 25-mile-an-hour zone going from, 10th Street all the way out to the roundabout. This would be no different, a very similar instance where there is very low residential driveways of that nature, and yet we still have a school zone in this area where there is a higher traffic of children walking around. we're in the process of doing something similar to that on Dewey Street by increasing a visibility of a pedestrian walk on 23rd in Dewey. So this would go inside with that. That's why I'm wishing that people would assist us in having this put into action. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Vanderkin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I supported this at the committee level on the motion that we actually had authority to do this due to it being County Road Q. And I never got any response back on whether or not the city has any authority to change speed limit on the county road.
Chief? Attorney?
I was going to say, I did refer this to our new Assistant City Attorney.
I didn't know if I could just
Yeah,
jump in.
now it's your turn.
Yes, so when the request came in to draft this, the first thing we do is we double check the statutes. 34657 and 34911 in conjunction allow us to do that as long as it's within the city limits. We have no legal issues with this change.
Okay,
Thank you. You still have the floor, Alderman Vanderkin?
that's all I had, Mr. Mayor.
All right, Alderman Sakala.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As far as Waldo Boulevard's concerned, I don't think you were on the council at the time when that was changed, but that was a request put forward by the police department. Okay, so the police department came because of the roundabout and the houses that do face Waldo to reduce that speed to 25 miles an hour in that area. So this is a request from a citizen, not necessarily the police department, and that's why we did the 25 miles an hour on Waldo. Had nothing to do with the citizen request or anything like that. The police department was looking at this particular thing because of the roundabout as a public safety issue. So, thank you.
Thank you. I think I saw Alderman Sitkowitz.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Alder Bull, for bringing up Waldo. I can't stand that 25 miles an hour there, and I was the one council member to vote against it at the time. And I listened back to the meeting for public safety, and I think Alder Reckleberg hit it right on the nail on the head when he said that speed limits, once you take them down, they never go back up. Because I think that there's some that regret that 25 mile an hour on Waldo today, that if it did come for a vote, it wouldn't pass. I would at least hope that it'd be reconsidered, but we don't talk about ever raising the speed limits once they come down. Take a look at Highway R. It used to be from Broadway up to 151 State Highway 42 there. It used to be 45 miles an hour, and then the road got redesigned and it went to 40 miles an hour. And the council asked the question, why are we reducing the speed there? And the response was, well, the road wasn't designed for 40. Well, then everybody should be in a crash who's ever driven that, because nobody's driving 40 right now on that road. Because there's no enforcement ability in some areas there to make sure that people are going the speed limit. So when we talk about we're gonna lower the speed limit because people aren't obeying it now, means that there's inability to enforce the speed limit there because there's no driveways. There's one cross street there. So the drivers come into town from 55 to 45 to 35 to 25, and then are forced to stop at the stop sign that is flashing as well before they enter the school zone. So if they are speeding now, I don't know what magic bullet it is to put up a 25 mile an hour sign that's gonna make it better. I think it's an enforcement issue with the way the street's designed now, with only having one crossway there. I think it's Richmond Avenue. I just don't see the need. And as you leave town, it makes sense that you go from 25 to 35 to 45 to 55 and not have a rapid speed up or a drastic speed down. And that's what this ends up creating. So I don't see the data that's driving it other than there's one individual that thinks it's too fast. There's been no data provided by the police department that said this would be effective. Or that there's been any accident data based off of speed in that area. So I don't see the justification for it or any data driving it home. So I won't be supporting it.
Thank you, Alderman Sitkowitz. Any further discussion? Alderman Reckleberg.
I was the lone dissenter at the public safety, but I'm not going to go into all the detail because Alder Sikowitz hit every point that I hit basically at the meeting, but I don't plan on supporting it, and I hope other people don't just because one person, not that you don't listen to them or they may not have a valid point, but if you go and look at the situation, you'd scratch your head and say, why do you want that 20? It's a third of a mile for Pete's sakes, not 200 feet like came up at the meeting. It's a third of a mile. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Again, the motion is to approve the request. Seeing none then, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
Okay, we see the ayes. Okay, so the motion fails 8-2. Alderman Bolt and Schley voting in the positive. So the motion fails.
Document 977 is an ordinance to revise parking on South 39th Street from Dewey Street to Vebon Street. Committee returns same, recommending to adopt the ordinance.
Council, your pleasure on this ordinance.
Move to accept the ordinance.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
Document 978 is a parking lease indemnification revision for 2023. Committee returns same, recommending to approve the revisions.
Council, your pleasure on this report.
Move to approve the revision.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
Document 979 is a request to terminate current contract with Seagrave and enter into an agreement with Pierce Manufacturing. Committee returns same without a recommendation. Approval?
Probably approval, yeah, it would be approval. Correct.
Correct.
Yes, all right. Council, your pleasure on this report.
Request to approve this move to Seagrave from, or to Pierce from Seagrave.
Second.
Motion second, discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor? Oh, yeah, Alderman Bry. Oh, sorry, I didn't see you.
That's all right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to thank the Public Safety Committee. I know Chief Blazer came and spoke and gave their presentation. I'm sure it's Public Safety to the Finance Committee. Essentially, we gave a general nod to support it, and I'm glad Public Safety went forward with it. The chief did a lot of hard work, and the staff did a lot of hard work, and it's amazing how long it takes to create a fire truck. It's not an overnight project. It's not like you can go down to the dealership and say, yeah, I want the red one there with the big bucket on the back. So thank you, Chief. I think we'll obviously get the process moving again, and hopefully we'll work out better. So, and Pierce obviously is a recognized name within the industry, so thank you. And I'll come.
Thank you, Alderman Bry. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Anything else, Alderman Schley?
Nothing other than the fact that our next meeting will be December 12th at 5:30 PM here in the council chambers.
All right, thank you. We'll then take up the Plan Commission documents.
Document 884 is an ordinance to repeal and recreate Chapter 15.490 floodplain zoning. Plan Commission returns same, recommending to adopt the ordinance.
Council, your pleasure on this ordinance.
Move to adopt the ordinance, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
Document 990 is a permanent utility easement located at parcel 820-130-100. Plan Commission returns same, recommending approval.
Council, your pleasure on this report.
Move for adoption of the committee's report, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Is there any other business to come for the good of the order? If not, at this point, more than likely we'll be canceling the December meeting. We don't have much. We did last year as well, and nice little holiday thing. But if we do have something, I will be out all of December, so we may have a Zoom meeting if needed, but at this point, it looks like we may be able to cancel the December one for everyone, for their families. Alderman Bry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, because I'm already making a decision about December night. I think there's a little football game north of here in Atlanta.
Yeah, it's a Packer Ram game too.
Packer Ram game, yes,
Yeah.
and I was fortunate that my cousin gave me some tickets this year, so I was.
Yeah.
But I think the deciding factor is whether this 56-year-old can sit out in the cold anymore that long. So
Right.
let's pray for at least 45-degree weather that night.
There
Thank
go.
you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, no, thank you. Anything else for the good of the order? If not, I hope everyone has a wonderful Thanksgiving with their family and friends. Look for a motion to, Alderman Sitkowitz.
Reminder that the Christmas parade is on
yeah.
Wednesday evening.
Wednesday evening, 6:30, downtown Manitowoc. That is correct.
Christmas parade.
There you go. All right, I would look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
We are adjourned.